I went from this to this in 9 months. Stick around to find out how. Hello everyone, semi-retired Bob here. I talk about the carnivore diet, all things related to the carnivore diet, and some miscellaneous odds and ends. Today we're going to talk about the worst dietary advice in the history of the world as far as I'm concerned. This is just my opinion. I have no science to back up my opinion, so this is just my opinion. Okay, you probably noticed just a little skip in the video there. It never fails. The second I start talking, noisy traffic comes by. 2 jets came overhead out of the air base. So I had a very noisy couple of minutes there. So I'm going to start over by saying hello to the new people. I'm glad you're here. You may be asking yourself, Bob, what in the world am I watching here? Well, you're basically watching me walk. Why this is a little on the important side is that 10 months ago I couldn't do this. I could barely stand for 2 to 2.5 minutes at a time without severe pain, and now I'm out here walking every day. I do try to come up with some interesting things to talk about from time to time. Some days I do that okay, some days not so much, but I do appreciate those of you who watch my videos very much. If you're returning, welcome back. But yeah, so I guess the whole point of this channel is to show people it's never too late to change your life. Because after being sick for 40 years, I'm almost 60 years old now. It's closing in pretty quick. So it's never too late to change your life. That's really the whole point of the channel. So I was thinking about this last night while yesterday's video was uploading, and the worst dietary advice ever, as far as I'm concerned. And I've gotten it. I got it from the so-called experts, the diabetes dietitian at my doctor's office sat me down and basically said, you know, we talked about this yesterday, and I've talked about this several times. You know, 45 to 60 carbs, 3 meals a day plus 3 15-carb snacks. And that means you're basically eating 6 times a day. Because the theory behind it, without any science to back it up, mind you, is to spread the carbs out over the entire day. Now, why this is so bad, not just for diabetics, but for everybody, because everybody is eating all the time. You know, we get up in the morning and immediately eat breakfast. And then, because we had toast and jelly, or a donut or a muffin, a bran muffin, because we're trying to be healthy. Yeah. But whatever it was we had for breakfast, the sugar energy of that runs out by about 10 o'clock. And you're at work, so you pull a little snack out of your desk, whether it be, you know, a bagel or that energy bar you brought with you, or whatever it was, to get you through the morning. Then you have lunch, and then the same thing happens about 2 or 3 in the afternoon. You have another little snack, and then you finally get done with work. You rush home, you have dinner, and then in the evening, while you're watching TV or whatever it is you do in the evening, you have another little snack just before bed. And you know, on the surface, it seems like spreading your calories out over the entire day. And calories is a bad word because calorie is a heat unit. But your effective energy that you're getting. I use the term calorie on this channel because I try to keep things simple. Basically, this is the view of an old retired truck driver. And we all know I get in trouble when I try to do science. So I'm going to continue to use the word calories, even though it's not exactly right. It's a term everybody understands what I'm talking about. So, Professor K, if you're watching this, please don't roast me for using the word calorie. But anyway, it seems like a good idea to spread them out over the entire day so you don't have that great big impact. But what happens, as we've learned with insulin, whenever you eat something, your insulin comes up to deal with whatever it is you've eaten. Because insulin is like the body's, think of it as the body's traffic cop. It tells things where to go. And, fat, when you eat fat, there's a tiny little insulin response to it. When you eat protein, there's a slightly bigger insulin response. And when you eat carbohydrates, there's an even bigger insulin response. So what happens, and it takes a couple of hours for insulin to do its job and start coming back down. So you eat breakfast and your insulin goes up. And just as it's starting to think about coming back down again, you eat your mid-morning snack. So insulin bumps back up. And then a couple hours later, as your insulin is finally ready to start coming back down, you eat your lunch. And so on and so forth throughout the day. So your insulin level goes up. And then it stays up all day long. And you may be thinking to yourself, well, Bob, why is that important? Well, in most cases, here comes another jet by, but he's a couple miles downrange, so should be okay noise-wise here. What are most of us trying to do that are watching videos like mine? Well, we're trying to lose fat. And fat being the traffic cop, not fat, insulin being the traffic cop, when insulin is up, it says store. Store that energy. And that's what it does. It tells your body to store energy. Insulin has to be back down at its baseline at a low level for that stored energy to be taken out of storage and used. So even if you're only eating, again, we're going to use the word calorie here. So only if you're eating 16 or 17 or 1800 calories a day, but you've got it all spread out throughout the day, you're never going to lose weight like that. Because insulin has to be lower back at its baseline for your body to begin metabolizing fat and taking it out of storage and using that energy. Which is why when you're on what I do, which is 1 meal a day, but some people do 2 meals a day in a 6-hour window and have 18 hours of intermittent fasting. You can even eat 3 meals a day if, you push that breakfast to just before you walk out the door for work. So it's 9 o'clock, or say 9 o'clock, and then eat your dinner at 6. That's 9 hours, right? So, even if you end up going 10 hours, that still gives you 14 hours of letting your insulin come back down to normal. And your body can then begin taking fat out of storage and using that for energy. So that's why this whole 6 meals a day crap, as far as I'm concerned, is the worst advice ever. I mean, if you think about it, if you're just pre-diabetic, but then they tell you to start eating 6 meals a day, basically, not only are their carb counts all wrong, but just the mechanism of eating 6 times a day, keeping your insulin high, is going to make your blood sugars eventually get worse, because we've all heard the term hyperinsulinemia. And hyperinsulinemia, I've talked about this before, all of the different diseases that we have out there, whether it be, leaky gut, irritable bowel, arthritis, some forms of arthritis, autoimmune conditions, diabetes, all of the different tree branches that are the individual autoimmune type disorders are all connected to the branch or the tree trunk of hyperinsulinemia, which is too much insulin on a regular basis. And insulin resistance is kind of a construct. There is no kit to measure insulin resistance. But what happens, in general terms, is that because your insulin is up all the time, it takes more and more of it to keep your blood sugars under control. I'm not even going to attempt to explain the science behind that, because we all know I get in trouble when I do science. But that's basically how hyperinsulinemia leads to insulin resistance, is that because your insulin is up all the time, your body slowly becomes resistant to it, and you need more and more of it to keep your blood sugar under control. And then you reach that tipping point where your body cannot make enough insulin to cover the amount of sugar that you're dumping into it. And that's when they suddenly detect your raised blood sugars and start diagnosing you with diabetes. Where if they had just taken a fasting insulin and a C-peptide, they could have diagnosed that maybe even as much as 10 years earlier. And you could have done something about it then, before you became symptomatic and spent 10 years damaging your body by having too much sugar in the blood and too much insulin on board all day. And that's why it seems like the Lion Diet, Carnivore Diet, Ketovore, Keto, low carb, that's why it seems like all of these diets that people are doing that are basically, one version or another of a low carb diet, why they seem so miraculous. And many times seems like, people like me are out here selling snake oil. Because there are so many things in the human body that get affected by having hyperinsulinemia. Stupid bugs. Although I'm happy the bugs are out, that means it's not super cold. It is a beautiful day again here in North Carolina. As you can see, the sun is out. It's only about 61 or 62 degrees right now, but the temperature is supposed to climb its way up to 75 today. And tonight's supposed to be the warmest overnight of the week at about 55, which is still very good sleeping weather. And it's actually supposed to get kind of chilly at night down through the rest of the week, but it's still supposed to get up into the low 70s every day, which should make for a pretty good week, because this is just Monday. You guys, of course, will see this on Tuesday. We got church again tonight because the spring revival is going on. We got a special speaker, and he spoke at all the services yesterday, and he's speaking again tonight and tomorrow night. That's why I'm out here recording this video on my first set of laps so that I can get it uploading and started in time, because I'll be busy this evening for a while. But that's my take on the worst diet advice ever. I did want to give a brief little update. I fell just a hair short of my 15,000 steps yesterday. But, like I said, I'd gone over. I basically had in the bank about 3,000 extra steps from the 2 previous days. And I still got it about 13,500 steps. I don't remember exactly what my watch said when I laid down last night, but I was tired. So I did not throw my shoes back on and go out and walk that extra 1,500 steps. I just said, that's close enough with the previous 2 days. So today I'm going to definitely try and get the full 15,000 steps in. And I normally, oh, the kids are being really loud. I normally fast on Sundays because it's just easy by the time everything's going on. But I had to get some meat out of the freezer and cook it from frozen last night because I was really hungry. That's the one thing that I can report as absolutely true. Professor K and Dr. Sean Baker, and basically all the guys and gals that we follow say that when you increase your exercise, your hunger goes up. And usually, on Sundays, because of scheduling, I just don't eat. But it was about 4:30 in the afternoon. I just sat down to start answering some questions. I was on a little break from walking and was sitting down to answer comments on my channel. And it's like, man, I'm really hungry. There's no way I'm going to make it to tomorrow. So, yes, when you increase your exercise, your hunger does go up. So be prepared for that. I'm not at the point where I'm going to have to go back to 2 meals a day. But I suspect, and I'm not going to bump this up again, probably not till my May walks. I may try to get to 20,000 steps a day in May. And that'll also be at my 1 year mark. And that's probably when I'll have to go to a small 2-mad, which means I'll eat my usual 1 big meal a day, but then because my exercise level is going to continue to go up, I may have to throw a second smaller meal in there. Like my usual 2 to 2.5 pounds of roast for the big meal. I may start eating that, since I'll be home, I may start eating that at 1 or 2. Oh, hang on a second. We got people coming down the sidewalk. So I got to pause you guys for just a second. Okay, I'm back. With the magic of editing, it'll be like I was never gone. But there's a lot of people out here today because they're getting things set up for tonight's service. Usually, have Sunday church and the cleaning crews come in, and everybody has basically 3 days, Monday, Tuesday, and most of Wednesday, to get things set up again for the Wednesday night church. But there's church again tonight. So there's lots of people here scurrying about trying to get things done. So what was I saying? Oh yeah, I think in May, we'll see. By that time I may be used to enough more walking every day that it doesn't happen. But at some point, my exercise level is going to get high enough that I don't think even me, the bottomless pit for holding food, will be able to eat enough at just one sitting to get all the nutrition I need for the level I'm working at. And I don't suggest any of you push as hard as I've been pushing to increase how far you can walk. But as you all know, I have a long-term goal. It's still, since it's March, it's about 2 years away from the start. Because if I do this thing, when I do this thing, I'll be starting in late February, early March. Through hiking the Appalachian Trail. Well, right now, if I had all day to walk, I could probably get to 15 or 20 miles one time. But to through hike the Appalachian Trail, which is about 2,200 miles, I'm going to have to get to the point where I can do 15 to 20 miles on trail every day with a backpack, which means to start converting to backpack miles on trail, I'm going to need to be able to do on a consistent basis probably 25 to 30 miles a day of walking to get to where I want to be able to successfully through hike the Appalachian Trail. But I've got 2 years to get there, so I'm not going to push super hard, but I am going to push a little bit because I'm hopeful that this fall I can get a couple of overnight backpacking trips in just around Nebraska, or on my way back down here, or on my way to Arizona. We'll see how it goes. I've almost completely decided that I want just a slightly bigger trailer. So I bought that one because it was cheap and it was available last year. It's just a 5x10. I'm thinking if I go to just a 6x12, that's 6 foot wide, that extra foot of width, well, it'll make it a little harder to pull, a little harder to see around. Right now I've got, you've seen it when I was setting them up. I think I showed them to you. My dressers and end tables on one side of the trailer, and my bunk is on the other. But it's just a 25-inch bunk. And there's maybe a foot of space for me to set my feet down between the bunk and the dressers. So I can comfortably sit up in bed at night and watch TV on my phone. But if I go to a 1 foot wider, I'll end up with the same amount of foot space, but I can go ahead and get a not full-size bed, but a full 31-inch twin bed, which will give me that extra, what is that? 6, 7, 8, that extra 8 inches of space on the bed itself. And why that's important is right now, what I've been doing, because especially as my right arm's been recovering for the last month and a half from that fall I took, it's mostly healed now. I still get the occasional twinge in it, and the full range of motion isn't back, but it's not complaining near as much as it was. So it's on its way back to being healed. But I take the stool that I sit on to edit videos, because it's got adjustable height, I collapse it down to bed level and set that next to the bed so that my elbow has something to prop up on. So I think a 1 foot wider trailer is worth looking into to get that extra 8 inches of bed space, so I don't have to keep moving things around at night to just get comfortable. And the extra 2 feet in length would let me have just a little more space for stuff. But if it doesn't happen this year, that's okay. I mean, I still have to get my truck fixed. The guy who was going to fix it, I understand his wife gave birth to twins back in January. So he's been really busy. But he is going to take a quick look at everything just to make sure that nothing is actively leaking, and that, of course, there's no guarantees, but there's going to be a better than average chance that my truck makes it home. So I still have to get that fixed first. And then I can start looking at trailers. We'll see how the summer goes. Of course, the money I'm going to save by cutting my own grass, I looked at my records, and I didn't realize it was quite that much. But by the time, I paid for spring cleanup and mowing every week, there's some months in there with 5 weeks. And basically the mowing season is about 6.5 to 7 months long. And leaf cleanup. And a couple of times a year trimming the bushes back, which I can do myself also. I actually spent just shy of $1,800 last year getting my lawn taken care of. So that comes real close. I mean, that's 2/3 of what my mechanic in Omaha said it would take to fix my truck, just by cutting my own grass. So I don't have to save up quite as much to get it fixed. And I don't have to drive it very much in Omaha. I mean, it's a 2 or 3 block trip to the grocery store. And if things break, I can always just have them delivered in Omaha. I do have an old bicycle in the garage. I may try and fix that up and use that to get over to the park a couple of times a week. But we shall see. But anyway, I've certainly rambled on long enough today. I want to remind you to get out there, be 1% better today. Don't forget to walk with Bob. This Saturday is canceled due to scheduling conflicts here. Have a great day, everyone. I will see you tomorrow.